Rev up your engines!
GM is going to unveil a prototype of their first real driverless car, and they call it the Cruise. Not the C-R-U-Z-E, but C-R-U-I-S-E. I guess they're going to make a distinction there. I find it kind of interesting, the name itself, Cruise, the actual Cruise. The original one was a dismal failure, pile of junk. And maybe driverless cars is a good thing for GM because drivers are smart enough not to buy one. So they won't have to be, you don't have to buy it and drive it. Hey, it drives itself, you know? They're calling it a self-driving car service for cities that people will enjoy. So they're looking at city stuff. Now, the reason they call it Cruise, because Cruise LLC, the Limited Liability Corporation that's in conjunction with GM, are the people that are developing this thing. And it's not going to have a steering wheel or pedals. And guess where they're going to unveil it? California, the land of dreams, the land of fantasy, too. That's where Hollywood is. They're going away from individual car ownership. They're looking at these ride-sharing type stuff. That's what they're really going into. I do find that interesting, like I said earlier, because a smart person really isn't going to buy a GM vehicle because they have so many problems. So people don't actually have to buy these things. It probably is a better idea for GM. They won't have to sell them to individual people. It's expected it's going to be an electric vehicle. I say they're working on it. It's certainly not out yet. Problems they've been having with autonomous driving cars. It's probably going to be quite some time before you actually be able to get into one of these things. And as I said, when they have autonomous vehicles, they're going to have their own lanes. You can't mix autonomous vehicles with human beings because machines and people don't mesh. People are too unpredictable and they've had too many wrecks. So it'll be some kind of special lane where these autonomous vehicles are going on. GM says they're working on it with this company, Cruise LLC, to make a fully independent vehicle that drives itself with no pedals and no steering wheel and no owners from what I see. Mazda, they have these Skyactiv X engines that put out a lot of power, and they're presently selling them in Europe and Japan. They started last year selling them in Europe and Japan, but they said they're probably not going to bring it into the United States. For the United States, they're going to be waiting a while, and they're going to make larger displacement engines with the Skyactiv X engine design. Now here, I have to say, Mazda is getting smarter. Well, of course they're getting smarter. You can see that now they're having affiliations with Toyota. There's a factory, I believe, in Alabama where they're making Mazdas and Toyotas together. It's a joint venture. This is a smart move, if you ask me. If they're going to test out the small, powerful engine, why not test it out in Europe and Japan? Get the bugs out of it before they bring it to the United States so people won't get it. If it has any problems, they'll get rid of the problems by the time they bring it in the United States. Now, Honda did this ages ago. When in the United States, we were driving carbureted Hondas. They were driving fuel-injected Hondas in England. Honda decided, I'm going to test this fuel injection equipment out in England. So if there's any problems, hey, it's only the British that have to deal with it, which is a small market. Then, by the time they fixed it, made it perfect, then they started selling fuel-injected cars in the United States, and guess what? They didn't have any problems. The early Hondas were good cars. They didn't have fuel injection problems. They tested it out in England first. So you poor English people, you were the lab rats for Honda. Well, the Europeans and Japanese can be the lab rats for this Mazda Skyactiv X engines, and then they're going to make bigger ones saying they're going to sell them over here. Kudos to Mazda. It's a smart move. Test it out in the smaller markets, then bring it to the United States. Don't sell something here that doesn't work right because it wasn't tested out correctly. Unfortunately, a lot of companies aren't testing things out right. I think Mazda made a smart move there. Zlatcop says, Scotty, brother's girlfriend wants to buy a used car under $3,500 US. I found one Mazda 3 1.6 Sport Active made in 2007 with 38,000 miles. Is that car reliable? Thanks a lot. It's 2007, so Ford parts on the engine that had some problems, but generally not until they have over 100,000 miles on it. If they can prove that that baby really only has 38,000 miles, I mean some serious proof, not just some little Carfax thing. I'm talking about receipts, inspection reports of the mileage when it was inspected to make sure that's the real mileage. It can be an okay car, but here's the thing. Ask them about the title, whoever's selling it first. And if they say it's a rebuilt title, reconditioned title, salvage title, don't buy it because it's been wrecked, totaled by insurance company, and then sold. So you don't want to buy a car like that if it's been wrecked, flooded, or stolen. It's got a dirty title on it. But if it's clean title and it runs okay, that's an okay job because they generally don't fall apart till they get 100,000 miles on them. You Gotta make sure that's real mileage. Ryan Gwen says, Scotty, my car's a used Lincoln 2012, bought it a week ago. There's a problem when I accelerate, especially 10 to 20. I can feel slight jerks, like the feeling of on-smooth gear shifting. Could you help me figure out? All right, you said you bought it a week ago. It doesn't really matter in many places where they give you a sticker that says as is, no warranty, blah, blah, blah. I believe there are laws in most states that say the people that sell you a car, professional sellers like that, are responsible for pre-existing conditions for the first month that you own the car. You've only had it a week. Take it back. Have them check it out. From my experience of those things, it's generally a problem in the automatic transmission that costs a fortune to repair. Pre-existing conditions, they're responsible for. If it isn't a transmission, it costs a small fortune. I would take it back to them, especially since you bought it from a dealer. Stand behind something you just bought. Make a video of it too, how it jerks and what it does, so you got some backup to it. Those Lincolns are very complex cars, and they can cost a ton to fix. They require special diagnostic equipment. Let them tell you what's going on, and you might even say, hey, you know, you're really not happy with this. You bought it a week ago, it's not. And see what they say. Start there. Now, if they don't treat you right, then, you know, I'd contact Ford Motor Company and stuff and say, hey, your dealer sold me this car and it's doing this and they're not doing anything about it. I guess you didn't take it to a mechanic before you bought it, which you should always do when you buy a used car. Because if I would have had a car like that and I drove it and I felt that, I'd have my scan tool on. If it showed there was a problem in the transmission, I would have come right back, brought you the car, and said, look, I'm checking out your car, but I'm going to stop right now because it's got this problem in the transmission. Don't buy it. And then go to another. Always have a used car checked out thoroughly. Don't trust anyone except the mechanic who's checking it out. Go Matrix Go says, Scotty, found a YouTube channel a year ago and been hooked. Here's my question. I got an 04 Matrix XR. Hit 300,000 miles. The odometer stuck at 299,999. I'm using my B trip meter to log miles behind 300K. It's $300 to $800 to replace the unit at Toyota. Anything else I can do? They just break. And that's all computer run stuff. Those are digital speedometers. They're not analog. There's no speedometer cable. So there's no real mechanical parts. Stuff's all electronics. I mean, if you want, go to a junkyard, buy a dash. I get dashes for those things, junkyards for 50, 60 bucks. They just pop in and out. I got a video on how to replace a dash in your car. It's a very easy job on that if you want to do that, because nobody really fixes those things. And if you don't want to spend $300 to $800, hey, go to a junkyard, buy a used one, stick it in. What the heck? If the speedometer still works and you can use the trip B or trip A, just do that. Who really cares? You just want to know how many miles you're putting on to change the oil. Who cares about the rest, you know? I mean, that makes total sense to me. Now, if the odometer isn't working and then the speedometer stops working, yeah, you want to know how fast you're going, so you'd want to fix it then. But just the odometer, me, I'd live with it and use the trip. Perks, Scotty and community, I'm looking into buying a 2006 BMW M6 with 32,000 miles for 25 grand. Is it a good deal or am I getting swindled? The M series are the fancy, serious driver car BMW cars. And they do have high resale value because of that. People like them. People like driving them. People even collect them. But you have to realize it is a BMW. Now, that has 32,000 miles, which isn't that many miles. They generally don't fall apart till you get 100,000 miles or more on them. But realize, if you're going to drive that car every day as an everyday driver, put a bunch of mileage on it, eventually you're going to spend a whole bunch of money on that car because it's a BMW. Their maintenance is insane. And you can sometimes double the maintenance price of having an M6, the M series. I know very good mechanics that work on all kinds of European cars. They will not work on the M series BMWs because of that. They don't want to buy the special tools and equipment to work on it. So realize that. But if you really like the car, it's going to be a weekend toy that you piddle around with, it'll probably hold its value for a while because it's an M series. Just realize that, you know, it's not an everyday driver car you can put 20,000 miles a year on. Brian, it just says, Scotty, I got a 2014 F-150 Lariat V6 Turbo, 186,000 miles. Driver's side blend doors out, according to my nephew. But he took it apart, put it in, it still doesn't work. Well, I don't know your nephew. I don't know what he does and what kind of equipment he has. But here's the problem with modern cars, especially American modern cars. Their air conditioning and heat system, it's covered under what's called the HVAC system. Heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. All that stuff's run by computers. There's boxes inside, and the computer will say, okay, open the blend door here to let heat in so you got hot air. And then you turn AC and it closes the heat box. Then it will open up the AC box that's separate to let cool air come equipment. That's all run by computers. You have to have a high-level scan tool like I have that costs like $3,500 to $5,500. Plug it in and start doing bi-directional testing where you turn this blend door on and it'll say yes, it has sent a signal. Then you go to the actuator itself on that data and you see when you said to make it 100% open, did it open 100%? You got to have equipment and be able to test that stuff. Otherwise, you're just guessing. I don't know what your nephew had, but if he didn't have that equipment, he's just wild guessing, and it doesn't make any sense to even attempt to fix one of those things. You have to have that equipment to work on it. They have made them that complicated. It's all done by computers and electric motors and cheap little plastic doors and hinges that often stick and break. So it's a very complex thing. You got to start with the equipment that can test them. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.